What's going on, nation? Welcome to a little late night Sharky chat in the middle of the morning. If you want to call it afternoon, night, evening, whatever it is, we're here in the now. Welcome to the chat. Let's go. Detroit Gator in the chat. Walker, what's up, brother? My guy, appreciate you so much. So much going on here. Top dogs, as you mentioned. I got the hat on here. This team did not come up to expectations, gentlemen. What happened to this team, huh? Let's put that on backwards. I've been wearing it backwards for a while now. And let's discuss what's going on. Not a lot going on, obviously. It is leading into Thursday sports in America, in the world. Professional football, college football, and baseball, and we love to discuss it. Just taking a breath myself, just kind of just decompressing a little bit. Want to see who's alive at this point in time and who's going to discuss life with us. And, you know, these discussions, they jump into themselves. They jump off into themselves, which is the beauty of them throughout the process of conversation. And as I always say, and I don't say it as a branding point, but it is a personal connection point, a passionate point. Conversation wins in this life. So let's discuss sports. Let's see what's going on, and let's dominate. Just drinking a beer here, guys. Just opening one, as I always say. I like to have one beer with you guys to close out the night. And as I always say, that is not necessarily one beer to close it out quickly. This will probably go on for at least 30 to 45 minutes, if not longer. Last night I was drinking High Life. Tonight I've switched it up slightly, drinking Funky Buddha IPA, excellent beverage, 7.0 ABV. That is alcohol by volume. For those of you guys watching, drinking, loving, and learning as we drink. Cheers to you guys. Cheers up. Fears down. Nice beer here, and just very smooth, and just a nice little cocktail. And it's obviously not a cocktail, but libation, if you will. So let's talk sports. We can talk football. We can talk baseball. Obviously, the Dodgers tonight bowed out in the sweep, which was, I think, a huge surprise to most. But I think, you know, analytically, it maybe was not such a surprise from the standpoint. The pitching was purely just not at the level of playoff quality. And I know a lot of Dodgers fans were very, very let down by the situation. I know people lost wagers tonight. I had suggested last night I thought they would win. Obviously, that was an incorrect prognostication point. But I think when it really comes down to it, the team is just so unbelievably handcuffed by injuries, obviously going back over 162 games to Walker Buehler and Dustin May, and maybe over-relying on Kershaw, who is obviously older and even in his prime, not great in the playoffs. And I think the Dodgers just kind of showed their colors a little bit. And unfortunately for those of you guys who rooted for the Dodgers and, you know, obviously thought the bounce back was coming tonight financially, which I did. And, you know, it's unfortunate. But I do think that the starting pitching just let them down continuously throughout pretty much the entire season, actually, if we're really going to be honest on that. And, I want that cat. What's up, brother? Thieves by law. What's going on, bro? My guy Moche. What's going on? 29 in the house. What's up, brother? Appreciate you guys immensely. Please drop likes and retweets on Twitter just to bring people into the conversation. It sounds cliche. I know we're hanging out here, but just trying to bring people more in here. And, you know, starting a YouTube channel is very grassroots, and it's a blessing. And I look at every single thing as a blessing, but it is a grassroots campaign here. And, you know, one of the things I was actually looking at last night, which I think is incredibly interesting, and this is not sports related, but we're going to jump off regardless. Guy Joey Molinaro. I'm not sure if you guys know Joey Molinaro. If you don't, I highly advise you guys to follow him on Twitter. This guy is a hilarious impressionist and comedian. And he has 370,000 followers roughly on Twitter. And this is one of the most intriguing points about co-branding and simulcasting on different apps in contemporary world 2023. You can be a mogul, for lack of a better word, on one platform and have no followers on another platform. Joey Molinaro is pulling 500 viewers per video in his last view on YouTube. 500. That's like broadcasting to your home crowd in high school. And on Twitter, he is connected to all mainstream media. He's hilarious. He's a celebrity. He's getting millions of views. And just as some sort of logical juxtaposition in terms of branding, in terms of these platforms, you have millions on one platform and 500 on another platform. So when I start this channel and I'm building this, and I will be building this with Junior Brown, I mentioned this before. Junior and I will be on here, I believe Tuesday, Wednesday, and potentially Saturday for NBA talk. We will be calling that what I've always wanted to call it. Jay Money was not a fan of my branding and my word usage, but I will be calling it what I've always called it: NBA payday with the Shark. And we're gonna go in there. We're gonna fucking dominate the highest level. And on that, I'm gonna retweet this on Twitter, get some more people in the chat. Let's talk some basketball. Let's talk some life, and let's talk some top level domination. Give me 1 second, gentlemen. Just gonna retweet this really quick on Twitter, and that is an official announcement. This channel will be the primary source of Shark and Junior on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And we will be dropping the highest level of competitive analysis in NBA basketball. And we are so unbelievably excited to do it for you guys. And let me just retweet this, guys, real quick. One of the best things about some of the things we're going to be doing. So we're actually going to get some producers and marketers ourselves. So I won't have to do this for myself. But honestly, it's one of those funky things. I was listening to Jeff Bezos talk about being an entrepreneur and some of these other really top level guys that have really cultivated businesses in this world. You kind of like to do it almost. You like to do it. You like to grind yourself. And I think as an entrepreneur and as a person, for who I am, and obviously talking to you guys, and we'll jump off the chat in a minute. I'm just going through my natural soliloquy of just what I'm thinking in life. But I like to do shit for myself almost. It's like I want to do the work. I don't want somebody to do the work for me. And like I think that you guys probably notice over the course of time, I do a lot of home videos. I do a lot of periscopes. I really actually like that. I just like doing things that are very organic and very humanistic and natural. Like I know there's massive production. I know there's so many things that can make things look better, sexy, or more agreeable, more titillating, whatever you want to call it. I've always liked to be very grassroots, not only from the standpoint of being in the beginning of a channel and a point, but grassroots from the standpoint of just being on the ground, being natural, being real, being organic to yourself, and not sensationalizing bullshit. And you guys get pretty much the most unregulated self from me at all points in time. You always have in 5 years of Shark and Waters Nation. So that's really what I love to bring, and it's not an authenticity that I intentionally put on to bring something that is fake or different. It is just exactly who I am as a person. And Shark and Waters Nation will forever be just my deep, authentic conversational quality. I love you guys for checking it out and connecting with it at the highest level. So let me just retweet this. And somehow I was talking about producers, and I had a sip of a nice beer, and I was like, let's pop a little bit. So let me just retweet this real quick. And let's talk about whatever's going on, guys. 2 people in the chat now. I'm not sure if that's even accurate. If so, it is what it is. I'm actually very good at talking to myself. I've become a great speaker to myself, and I love talking to myself. Actually, I think one of the things that's very interesting about life is your entire life is pretty much a self-compass anyway. You're always talking to yourself. You're always chatting with yourself. So if you can't chat with yourself in a proper way, you're probably not having a good mental game for yourself. So, if any of you guys are still in the chat, Moche in the chat, Thieves Law, I want the cat, my guy. Not sure if anybody's in the chat, but I will sit here and chat continuously. Couple topics that I'm a little bit, I would say, intrigued by in the present moment. I will say this is obviously mildly anecdotal to current sports, but I think these chats are going to just go along the way and just go along the way of just random thoughts for me. And I was just watching a YouTube video of the 2014 Patriots and their championship run to beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl in I believe it was February of 2015. That was the game that Russell Wilson threw a pick in the end zone to Malcolm Butler, just to remind you guys of that season. And one of the biggest takeaways I got from watching that video was just the unbelievable psychological adjustability of Bill Belichick. The guy really is an absolute psychological genius there was, if you guys watch this particular video, and I'll share it for those of you guys who are desiring that context. It just blew my mind. I was actually encapsulated by it for the last 45 minutes. Drew Fish, what up, brother? Haven't talked to you in a long time, man. Hope the endeavors are going well. Let's dominate, bro. You the man. Appreciate it, bro. But I was watching Belichick, and I was watching this whole thing just in terms of his adjustability and certain things where, externally, and how the media presents things and how people think about things because of the media presentation of certain things. He's doing the polar opposite. And if you guys remember, there was a game with the Patriots going back to 2014. I believe it was week 3. They were in Kansas City, Monday Night Football. I believe this was Andy Reid, and I believe it was Alex Smith a few years prior to Patrick Mahomes. And there was a game where the Patriots got absolutely obliterated at Arrowhead, 41-14 on Monday Night Football. And it was the game that Belichick was very well noted for saying in the press conference after the game, "We're on to Cincinnati." And watching this video, it was very interesting because he specifies this thing that, I just learned this less than an hour ago. He actually says on this particular documentary, "I knew we were not going to win the game after the first few series. Basically, we had no competitive chance. We were a new group. We were integrating new players. We were getting our ass kicked. We could barely hear ourselves think. The crowd was so unbelievably overwhelming." And we went to the locker room at halftime and we said, "We're not going to win this game, but let's see who wants to kick some ass in the second half physically and compete." And that's what they did. They came out in the second half. They still got beat down in the second half. They lost the second half by 10 points. It was 17-0 in the first half. It was 41-14 overall. So they did lose the second half by 10 points. But regardless, the whole point in Belichick's mind, and the Patriots' mind, that point was, we got our ass kicked in the first half. We had no chance to win this game circumstantially, given the stadium and the crowd and the energy and the whole thing. But we came out, we kicked ass in the second half. And that's where I think this is so interesting, because most people are such unbelievable prisoners to mainstream media narratives. You have no freaking clue what's going on in the locker room with teams. And the beautiful thing about this documentary, too, is that they juxtapose his commentary about how he perceived the second half competitively and all the media headlines coming off of that game in, I believe it was week 3, 2014. And the media was saying they were done. They should remove Tom Brady from the roster, put in the backup quarterback. The team had just checked all the boxes. They were gone. And Belichick was saying, we're going to basically go in the second half and just do, the Oklahoma drill with these guys and just try to kick some ass. So I think it's just so fascinating that the mainstream media presents you one story, that this team is done. They're moving on from a quarterback. Everything is apocalyptically terrible. And Bill Belichick is sitting in the locker room in the literal environment. He's just running the Oklahoma drill on the field in the second half at Arrowhead, saying, "Fuck the game. We're going to get beat anyway. You know what? Let's just kick some ass and check our physicality and our competitive nature." And that is just a mind-blowing, hyperbolic example of why you should never, ever listen to the mainstream media. And I'm being dead honest. If you turn on the mainstream media, you should just by default say, these guys are bloviating idiots, sensationalizing hot take narratives that have zero substance to get clicks and make us all annoyed and angry to compete with their takes and watch their videos. And I will say that for the rest of my life. It's a dead out fact. They are substanceless, robotic idiots just selling complete chaos to people to make people stupid and just continue this absolute continuous point of stupidity with people. And it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. And I want that cat, my guy. It's a fact. It's one of those things where once you're enlightened to a certain degree, enlightened is a very flattering way of saying it. Disillusioned is more of a cynical way of saying it. But either one, enlightened or disillusioned, you realize the mainstream media is not out to help you. They're not out to inform you. They're out to make money for themselves. And the way they make money for themselves is to sell stories to people that are about clickbait and are bored in their life and find sensationalistic stories to be interesting to escape from their own mediocrity in their life. And that is the baseline of mainstream media, politically and sports. It is to target people who feel mediocrity in their life and somehow bring them into a clickbait game where they make a shit ton of money on ad revenue. And that's all it is. There's no logic. It's not sourced in any sort of deep research. They're very, very rarely within prime source material. It's usually very surface research and a lot of conjecture and speculation that becomes official narratives because they have so much control over groupthink and the world. And the media is so in bed with big corporation and big pharmaceuticals, they control everything. And once you start to understand that, you realize most of the things you think in your life that are official and that you have heard as official facts are actually not official, are manipulated, and are actually totally intended to completely manipulate you, the person, within deep groups to profit corporations and media as they work together. And it's unequivocal facts, and it applies to both sports and political media. And it's mind blowing, honestly. It's mind blowing. And my guy Thomas Johnson, what's up, brother? Cheers to you, bro. Get me fired up here. I'm fired up. Let's go. Let's fucking fire up, boys. And you get me talking about the media. I can get in there. I really can, because I understand the psychology of it. It's wild. Barry Clue says Alex Smith with the baller, no doubt. Walker said that's why I found NBA Player podcast so interesting. I completely agree with you. One of the things that actually sparked me to listen to the Patriots documentary that I'm sourcing here, I was actually watching a clip from Colin Cowherd. He hosted Julian Edelman, I believe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I got to say, Julian Edelman, for his on-field quality, he's also got great media quality too. I mean, this guy Julian Edelman is just a listenable guy. He's a likable guy. And I've always liked Julian on the field. I thought he just played a really rugged style of football, and I really connected with him as a player. I was listening to him in this Colin Cowherd segment, which was about 20 minutes, I would say. It wasn't even about presenting himself well, because that was very much just by default. He's super interesting. He's got great energy about him. He's super engaging. I was sitting there thinking to myself, I could do some work with Julian Edelman in a media scope. I would love to do some work with the guy. I think he and I would have a great on-air, just energy bounce back and forth, big-time energy. I think he's a dog, 100%. Bobby Candyman, what up, brother? Barry Clue, hilarious, right? Hilarious, right? The Broncos minus 10.5. It's funny because I've actually never had a show with Kelly. I think Kelly's great content. I've always thought she was great content. And I've never done a show with her. It's interesting that that never worked out that way. And there's a lot of different X's and O's and ins and outs within the industry that have not led that direction. But I think that if Kelly and I ever did a show, I mean, Kelly's all about advancing her career without question. She's now working with Clay Travis. She almost signed with ESPN, or she did, and then they cut her, the whole thing. I would say this to Kelly. You want to do organic content, real content, work with the Shark. I put on the most official content in sports betting media, period. And I will stand by that for the rest of my life. The most official sports betting content in entire gambling Twitter sports media, period. And it's not about sensationalizing shit. It's not about getting clicks. I get clicks by telling the truth. And that's very, very rare in society right now. And I will say that again. I get clicks by saying the truth. And I've said the truth positively 95% of my quotient. 5% when I was dealing with some bullshit. You know what I always said, guys? I always told the truth. When I told stories about people making mistakes, manipulating, having backdoor deals, selling parlays, incorrect wagers, all this stuff, they all got pissed off. They all blocked me. You know what they never said? They never went on a live video and said Shark is wrong and I'm actually doing the right thing. So just remember that, guys. When you guys like certain guys in the sphere who you think that I attacked, I didn't attack them. They were making false moves. They were manipulating people. They were manipulating me. I called them out, not because I was antagonistic. I was telling the truth. And if you just think about it psychologically, they never, ever came back with a video saying that I was wrong. because I was right. And I don't lie, I don't manipulate, I just tell the truth. And when I'm caught up in chaotic environments, I just tell the truth. And if somebody's willing to come out with a deep video articulating why they're correct and I'm incorrect, I'm right here for it. But they're incapable of doing it because you can't over lie the truth. And they just continue to over lie. And it's like, no, you can't beat the truth with lies, guys. And you guys know what I'm talking about. It's a lot of bullshit with these guys, and it's just continuous bullshit. And they'll never ever put out transparent truth because they're incapable of it, because they're falsifying their entire shit. So it's fascinating within that. And does Kelly own Wager Talk? I'm not entirely sure. I think she has sponsors from Vegas. And I think part of the reason why I went on that mild diatribe just now is because I think that Kelly never really interacted with myself because of different cobwebs and angles within the infrastructure of where we worked and the whole thing. But I think it's just contamination. It's bullshit. Kelly and myself could put on a great show. There's no way around it. I firmly believe I could host Kelly far better than anybody she's ever been hosted by. And that's Joe Ranieri. I think he's a great host. And I will say this. I think Joe Ranieri is a great host. I think he has great charisma, great voice. I think he has just a great on-air stillness and presence about him. I think I could host Kelly at that level, right there with Joe. Joe's the one guy that does host her great. So shout to Joe. He's a fucking dog. Just saying that. Joe's never interacted with me, but I want to give merit where merit is due. Joe's a great host. Clay Travis is not a great host. ESPN is not a great host. Some of these other guys she works with are not great hosts at all. It's flat content. She's a talent. She needs a good host. And I could host her for sure. So just putting that out there. And she's got her own brand. She's got this whole thing, a lot of interworking points. But it's worth saying because it is the truth. We only live once. We only have a life once. And sometimes you have to push the button to see what will happen. And I will say that I would love to host Kelly in Vegas on our show, and I don't mean that one-off as an interview. I mean in terms of genuinely 2 to 3 times a week commentary. And it's not so much that I think that she's a woman or she's so unbelievably connected in the game and I will gain from it. I've always thought she is articulate, smart, and an entertainment quotient within the game that I always respected. So shout out to her and shout out to the whole game. But I just think the hierarchy she's working with makes some money, and I get that for sure. You want to make money, but the actual talent level on air, it could be big time, big time. And I think that's a dope thing. I could work with Nadu as well. Nadu's a guy. He's Albanian. I love the Albanian guys. I think they're super loyal. I think it's, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Albanians. I'm not Albanian. I do have friends. One of my best friends from Yonkers, Albanian family, so loyal, so deep soul in the people. And I do really enjoy Nadu from the standpoint I know his soul is real and I know his loyalty is immense. And I know that's probably why he's had certain beefs with people, because loyalty breeds beef. Soul and emotion breeds beef. Being a flat person who doesn't care, you don't have beef because you lack passion. Sometimes beef is actually a good thing from the standpoint that you really do have a soul inside of you. You do actually care about what you're doing in your life. And and Nadu has obviously been, all over the grid to a certain degree. But I think most people that have a deep soul, just passionate people, care more. So therefore, they are more mobile, I would say. And sometimes mobility is, perceived and projected in a negative light. But oftentimes mobility is a good thing because it's intelligent people that are in tune with their talent and their emotion, and they're trying to seek out good relationships. And like really at the depth of people, some of the most complex people are people like Nadu. It's funny, I'm psychoanalyzing the guy right now. He doesn't even know who I am. But I'm sure he's a very complicated person. I'm sure he cares so much. I'm sure he's seen a hell of a lot of things in his life, financially, in terms of his family, in terms of his infrastructure and his business and people around him. And I'm sure he cares a lot. You can sense certain things if you've seen this guy. He was very explosive at certain points, and now he seems very subdued. And I think that's not necessarily like he got on drugs, like like pharmaceuticals to take him down. I don't think it's that at all, actually. I think he actually talked about he got more fit, he started breathing more, he got into a better mental space for himself. But the crucial point is he's always really cared, and that's the volatility and also the actionable movement point for a person who really cares. You have massive volatility when you're unadjusted as a person. You still care the same amount when you adjust yourself properly emotionally by a lot of personal work. Your caring becomes more subdued and you're less antagonistic, you're less engaged in the controversy. And I think that's what you're seeing when they do right now. I think he's far less engaged in the controversy. He seems far more subdued. I think he noticeably looks healthier as a person. I think he's lost weight. I think he works out more now. I think he feels good. And the bottom line is, I would work with him too, 100%. I think he's just an absolute encyclopedia on college basketball. I was watching the show he did with Kelly in Vegas last year in terms of college basketball. He reminded me of myself from the standpoint of knowledge on professional football, basketball, and baseball, where I can really host shows without a lot of prep because I've followed the sports my entire life. It's basically my language. And when I was watching Nadeau, I really felt like with college basketball, it was his personal language. Like he didn't even have to prep for the shows. And he really just knew the sport like the back of his head. Like it was just organically speaking to him. And I love that about guys. I pick up on those nuances of people talking about things where I know he knows, and it's very real. There's not a lot of guys in this sphere that really know the detail of what they're talking about. I like to see guys like that. So I just want to give him a shout as well. I appreciate whoever made that comment. Walker said it bothered him, but I hope what I just said gives you a little more, exposition as to who the guy is. And, I don't think he's sourced in a bad detail or a bad intention at all. I think if anything, he's hyper passionate and he's been around probably a bit of over competitive, maybe negative energy for a period of time with Barstool Sports, with other companies that are, not fluid for him, and I think negative energy to a certain degree. So I think he's just reacting to his environment there. I think he actually does have good intention, and I think he's highly knowledgeable, without question, highly knowledgeable. So I think his name is Jeff Nadeau. I know Nadeau, Jeff, I think. I know he's Albanian, and he's a Barstool personality. Doesn't work for them now. He's a college basketball commentator in the winter time. He's very knowledgeable. He did a show last year with Kelly in Vegas. I think that was because they were both working for Barstool at the time. Now, I think neither of them work for Barstool. Again, it's just this constant in and out with these companies, which is just chaotic. It's hard to figure out what's going on. But I think at the baseline point, I think he's a good person. I think he cares a lot. I think he's super knowledgeable on college basketball, without question. So both of them. And as I mentioned before, I'd love to host either of them. Really, either of them. I think and you guys know this, but I'll say this because they don't know. Not to prop up my channel. My channel is not about hosting somebody for a one-off interview. It's about relationships, connection, growth, and the whole thing. And I think that we could all do great work, honestly, and I think it's a blessing for that. So, let me just look back at the chat and see what's going on here. Walker says, I don't either. I think it's just a different view on business and growth philosophy. Just natural human disagreement, like the guy. There you go. Exactly. And I'm with you. And I'm with you on that 100%. I think that one of the things about gambling Twitter too that can become so hostile and can just become so continuously aggressive is that people really take a very just aggressive stance on people based on picks or a sports betting ideology. And there's such a human being behind that is so unbelievably clean without that hyper aggressive gambling Twitter competition and the whole thing. So I completely agree with you. Um, Gonna take a sip, guys. Gonna just retweet this real quick, see who's coming in and out. And if anybody wants to talk sports or whatever, just drop some points. I will jump off. I'm ripe and ready. When I get one of these beers in my hand, I feel pretty conversational. If you guys haven't noticed, so whatever you guys want to talk about, give me some comments, and I will definitely jump off. Neil Kleister, my guy. Are the Braves done? Great question. I don't think the Braves are done. I think the Braves are. Let me look who's starting tomorrow. We nailed that game today. We said last night we thought that would be an over. Braves are starting Strider versus Suarez. I mean, numerically, it's hard to read. I mean, obviously, when the team is laying 150 plus on the road in a desperation game, this is what happened with the Dodgers tonight. But again, the Dodgers had a significant pitching disadvantage. You know, if you look at what happened tonight with the Dodgers, just as a cross-referencing point, the fact they were throwing Lance Lynn in a desperation last game of the season on the road just speaks to the fact that they were so unbelievably deficient in the starting pitching category, and they have been all year without Walker Buehler and Dustin May being inconsistent and a couple other things. Obviously, the career, are coming to the lower level, post prime with Clayton Kershaw, obviously overusing Bobby Miller and the whole thing. Not necessarily overusing him from a usage standpoint, kid's young, but in terms of just repetition, late season, teams frequency, pattern recognition, whole thing. But I do think when you look at the Braves tomorrow, it's honestly a hard question to answer, Neil, if I'm being honest, because I do think a lot of what you guys are saying in the chat about the Philadelphia morale and the stadium and just the whole thing. Strider has had some bad moments on the road this year. He's very much to the batter. He's always in the zone. And, let's be honest, Philadelphia in the division has a lot of, BVP analysis and, matchup history. It's hard to say if they're done. Psychologically, I would say it's a tough bounce back. And I think it's one of the hardest places to bounce back in the country, in either league. You stay on the road in Philadelphia, the crowd is going to be equally as hostile tomorrow to close this out. Also, if you really look at it, obviously the Phillies have a ton of experience going to the deep in the playoffs last year, and I think that when we really zoom out a little bit, I think it's safe to say right now the Phillies did kind of coast the year. If you guys look at the last two seasons, they were pretty mediocre for the first 45 games. And really just turned up through the season and really are peaking in the playoffs. And, baseball is not a psychological sport like the NBA, but there is psychology regardless. They are human beings. And I think the Phillies are one of the teams that you can really just stamp on them. They are more psychological than other teams. They do coast. They do let moments early season, mid-season just not be so big, theoretically. And then when it's big, they have another level. And I think that's an interesting point because I think a lot of baseball teams are who they are because it's the statistical aspect to the game. Phillies care more; they have more. The crowd is going to carry them unavoidably. So I think there's a lot going on there for the Phillies side there. Sammy Comer in the house, what up, brother? Cheers, bro. My guy, you're on a sick fucking run, and I'll say this to you, bro. You're not on a sick fucking run. You're a smart human being who's succeeding because when people had followed me when I was absolutely dominating, and I'm up 35 units in the last couple months, so here we are. But when I really started to hit my upward movement where you're going, people would always say, you're on a heater, you're on a heater, on a heater. And I'll say this to you, Sammy, you're not on a heater. You're a sharp fucking guy. It's lifestyle. And this is what I always said to people when people said I was on a heater. I said, it's lifestyle, guys. Get on board. Ride the wave we get out of the water. Let's fucking go. And I'm right there with you, bro. You're a fucking dog. You're a fucking dog. Appreciate you immensely. You're my guy. And never change. Let's fucking go. Oh, Sherry. Sammy Comer is speaking about a song by, who is it? What's his fucking name? Steve Perry from Journey. Great fucking song. Great fucking song. Sammy, you're right. I have grown. Without question, I have grown. One of the things that I've grown from, and I'll speak on this, and we'll go back to baseball. I had never really personally felt despair in my adult life. I had felt total, utter despair with the whole thing that went down with Jay Money and my girlfriend of the last 10 years. And I think, using the word girlfriend for a 10-year long relationship, you might as well call it a wife if you want to be just, centered in the word usage. It's like getting divorced and losing basically a business partner who you thought was going to be a guy you were going to work with for the next 30 years and a great, great brand all in one, while also losing a company that you built for 5 years because and you guys know I did this. I snapped at a burner account and they took my whole thing. So the wildest thing about all of that as a person is that it makes you change. It makes you confront yourself and learn so much about yourself without any desire to do it. I was not in a position where I was going to say, all right, I'm going to lose this, and this, my company, my girl, and my partner all in 3 months. That's what happened. All of it. And I was living up in the middle of Allentown. I didn't know anybody. I'm walking around the street. You guys saw me on the videos. And I did that intentionally because I wanted to give you guys a snapshot to my life. I didn't know anybody. And I didn't know anybody because I just moved there. And I was also with my girl. So I wasn't a single guy moving to a town where, when you're a single guy, you go out, you integrate more. When you're married, basically, you don't do that. You're loyal to your girl, you do your thing. So I get up there, all of a sudden everybody's leaving. Lose the channel. My girl's doing all this stuff. Jay Money moves on, talks all this shit, the whole fucking thing. I'm sitting there in the middle of Allentown, like, what just happened? It's like getting clotheslined in like an arbitrary apocalyptic world from the standpoint of putting all your emotional energy into relationships and a brand and then just being gone. So Sammy's right. It's for me personally, it's been one of the biggest whirlwind 9-month periods of my life, but it's something that I think, I hate to say this because it sounds ridiculous, but I think everybody could benefit from it, because when you really go to a point personally where you lose everything, it makes you really look yourself in the mirror and say, what am I? What do I have? What do I have left? And bouncing back is so much harder than creating in the first place. That is such a crucial point for people. Bouncing back is so much harder than creating in the first place. And to create again is just, it's proven to myself on a daily basis, like up here, when I wake up, I develop much more self-trust. And I always work on self-trust through fitness and meditation, but sometimes life throws you massive challenges that you don't even know are coming. And it just challenges you even more to really get in your own mind and say, I'm going to keep going. When you keep going, you get stronger unavoidably. So it's been a beautiful thing. It's been a beautiful thing. And I will say that it really has been a beautiful thing. It is. It's crazy to say, because I used to think it was terrible and I was pretty sad about it. But it's one of those things where sometimes life will strip you of everything you have, and you have to say to yourself, that's probably for a reason. Let me explore further. It's going to challenge you to the highest level, but it's going to put you into a stronger place. And I think it's very real. Yeah, for sure. I think it's very real. Very real. Petros, what up, brother? You the man. Love you too, man. Love you, Sammy. Love you, Bobby. So much love, boys. So much love. Just big time energy. Abundant energy. I love you guys, man. You guys have been with me from the beginning. And you know what the crazy thing is? The beginning is right now. We're young. We're fucking abundant. We're strong. We're fast. We're smart. We're beautiful people. It's just an incredible endeavor we're in here. It's awesome to be in there with you guys. It's really just a beautiful thing at the highest level. I want that cat. Love you too, man. So much love, man. And I've gone through life for, I guess, what, 38 repetitions now. It's kind of crazy to say, but as you see more cycles, you see life more clearly. You start to just see how things work, how people are, and you just kind of see how people come and go, the loyalty, the disloyalty, who's real, who's going to be real. And I think that's a really crucial point. When you start to see people over the course of your life come and go, you start to be able to read people more clearly in terms of when you first meet them, who's going to be a good person in the future. And I think some of the relationships that I had that went awry, I was probably not clear enough in my own life to be able to look externally and really see who was going to be good or bad going forward. Having experienced what I've gone through, I think I see that more clearly now. And I think that's just it's the beauty of life. It's just that the beauty of life is your own experience, and your vision as it just accumulates moments and moments and moments upon themselves, and how you react and how you evaluate your own moments. And do you learn? Do you talk to the right people? Do you bounce ideas off people who are going to give you insight? Or are they going to give you confirmation bias to maybe your false ideas about yourself that are excuses or whatever? And I think that's the beauty of life. It's just that you're basically just this continuous experiment within yourself, this accumulation of ideas and experiences for yourself, and you're just figuring it out. And nobody's ever figured it out. Even the best people in the world financially always say they have regret. They missed this spot and they did this, this, and this. You can never be perfect. You're always learning. You're always just in this moment. And it's a beautiful thing to be in this moment with you guys and just having this conversation. So I appreciate you guys so much. And it is a beautiful thing, guys. Beautiful fucking thing. Really beautiful thing. Without question. Without question. I think I'm going to wrap it up on that, guys. Just a couple lifestyle points on that. I don't really have a lot left here. 1:25 in the morning. Just want to come on and shoot the shit with you guys. And that was just a great point to leave this conversation, because it's a beautiful new beginning for all of us, all of you guys that follow and interact. Such unbelievable connection we're developing, and we will be working every single day in the duration of this moment, which is always the present moment. It's a beautiful thing. So I appreciate you guys so much. Just gonna sit back, listen to a little music here when I get off the air, and just relax. And we're gonna be firing up the show tomorrow night with the gun. Thursday night football, Broncos at Chiefs, big time stuff. So taking a breath. Shout out to you guys so much. Giving you guys all the best energy. I love you guys so much. It's power. It's big time. It's connection. It's love. It's respect. Shark and Waters Nation. 9 words of lifestyle. Riding the wave every day of the water. Let's fucking go, guys.